also a couple of years ago at a reunion. So I'll ask them, they can sit down if they want to. I'll ask Peter Schlecht and Isaac to come on up here.
We were in Europe, Michelle and I, when we got our wings that last night in Europe.
I've avoided it all this time.
Huh?
Ah. All right.
Okay. About 10 days ago, I got in touch with Tony Marincola, who is our quartermaster, lives out on the West Coast, and I asked him to send me some wings. He sent them to me. The post office apparently slowed down, not as fast as email. The wings did not arrive. So I have a set of wings here. I'm going to use them to induct both Peter and Isaac into the 17th Airborne Auxiliary, I guess I should say. I'm not going to give them wings now, but I will see that they get them in the mail. So we got a couple of chairs up here.
Okay. You sit that chair. All right.
I'm going to ask Bill to help with the ceremony here. You know how to do it, Bill.
Oh, no.
You just pull out, stand up, look up. When I say it. Want to get up on the in the plane?
Wow.
It's supposed to be in front of each other, right? It's supposed to be up to be in front of him.
All right, tell them.
Orders.
That's right, we'll leave that way. You're in front.
All right.
You're in front.
Go ahead, give them the stand up, hook up, shut the count off.
Stand up, hook up, count off.
Two okay.
Number one, okay. Two okay. Three okay. Okay, three okay.
Okay.
Stand in the door. Go, 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 go.
Well, okay, so congratulations. You'll get it in the mail. Isaac?
Wow. Was that the fifth jump? Sit your one, fella.
Getting old. Getting old. Before I give you my story, I would like to thank Mr. Bill Smith and his committee for a very lovely reunion. The food was good, the people were good, and there's a lot of booze left over. But anyway, you've heard a lot of stories about picking up guns and stuff like that. I'm going to give you a story that's really bad. My Lieutenant Gillis, West Point, and Pete Helfringer, we were in the Battle of the Bulge. We were told, retreat, retreat. We didn't know where the hell we were to start with. But anyway, they manned a .30 caliber light machine gun. They were captured by the Germans. 2 days later, we found them. They each had a gun in their mouth, with the back of their heads blown out. That was part of war. But I have met the best men in the world right here. We had all kinds of stories, good and bad. I was a honey dipper. You ladies don't know what a honey dipper is. The men know what a honey dipper is. In England, they used to use all the foul stuff for fertilizer. They had buckets about that high, and they were outside with a little hole in the ground, a little hole in the wood. Once a week, they would come back with trucks, and you'd have to hand them up, and they'd empty them. If you were bad, you were the man on the ground, and they always shook it. I was a honey dipper. There's all kinds of stories you can say. I'm going to tell you about my hat. My hat belonged to one of the finest men in the world, Bob Greenstrand. Bob Greenstrand was an exception. He died I was at his funeral, and I am going to wear his hat to every reunion I can go to, because I feel that Bob is with me. And I would like to introduce you to 3 of my friends from the Czech Republic. They treated me like I was a king. The only thing is they like to kiss men on the cheeks. You know what I'm saying? 2 of them wanted to follow me home. But they treated me like I was a king. I have never been treated like that before. They took me to I'm Jewish, you know. I'm Jewish, they took me to a Catholic church. It was 800 years old.
Yep.
I have never in my life seen anything so gorgeous. I've been in St. Patrick's in New York. It's a sewer compared to what they showed me. The woodwork, everything was all handmade. My experiences are tremendous. I've met some of the nicest people in the world. We've lost a lot of good ones, but they're all in heaven waiting for us. But again, I would like to thank Mr. Bill Smith, his committee. They did a tremendous job. And I think Mr. Corman is going to help us out in the future, because he's quite the guy. We need a leader, and he's our leader so far. Unless you find somebody else that can do it. But I want to thank you all, and thank you, Bill Smith, again, and your committee. You did a tremendous job.
John
And I didn't
Corman,
tell
you're
any
on.
dirty jokes either. I'll tell them one dirty joke. One joke. We had a power outage in Florida, and 911 got a call, Mama's sick. They sent a man to the house, and he raps on the door, and a little girl, 3 years old, answers the door, and he says, "Where's Mama?" Little girl says, "In the bedroom." They go in the bedroom, and Mama's got a big stomach. She's ready to have a baby any minute. He says, "Push, push." And she pushes, and out comes the baby. He grabs it by the feet, and he slaps it in the buns, and the baby started crying. He says to the little girl, "What do you think of that?" The little girl says, "Slap him again, he shouldn't have crawled in there." I got more, but I don't want to take up any more time. Say something. Come on. Kill him. If the speech is any good, I'll book it on television.
Here comes the new leader.
No, we've got a lot of leaders here.
No, you're a leader.
How many of you remember varsity when we were on the ground and the B-24s were coming over pushing out supplies? You remember that? They were coming up over the top there? Okay, how many of you remember when we had just dropped in on varsity and we were on the ground and a resupply mission of B-24 bombers came over the top pushing out bundles? Any of you remember this?
Okay.
You remember
15
that?
were shot down. 15.
You remember that?
You're right.
Okay. Now, I was on the ground, and I remember I hear these roaring motors go over the top, and I look up, and there's a B-24 bomber, virtually a treetop, and on the right side, the door was wide open, and there was an airman standing up there pushing out bundles to us. We were on the ground. There was all hell breaking loose on the ground. Mortars were going off, artillery, everything was bursting, machine gun fire coming from everywhere else. I was lying on the ground right next to an Air Force pilot who had the top of his head just taken off. He was in in his
Oh,
Class A green uniform, beautiful uniform with his decorations on. I don't know why he was wearing something like that, but anyhow, he probably thought he'd get back, you know, he was going to make it and he'd go back to the officers' club or something of that sort. But he was on the ground with the top of his head taken off and his brain spewed right over all of his medals. And I'm lying down and I see this plane going over the top and this fellow's pushing out bundles and I'm looking up there. And just as he got over the top of me, that plane was hit. And I saw the right engine screaming smoke. The fellow who was pushing the bundles out fell out of the plane, came straight down and dropped about 75 yards from me. And I said, oh, and I remember in agony looking at you, you killed him, you killed him. The plane went a little further, maybe a half a mile beyond the woods, and there was a huge fireball, boom, and black smoke, and that was the end. I'm sure some of you remember this. Yeah, you remember that?
I saw 3 of them go down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I felt very bad about this incident, and at the end of the war, I tried to find out what squadron that was providing the supplies for us. I wanted to at least thank them, saying, you know, you fellas, you gave your lives for us. And I couldn't find out, and it was kind of painful, and I didn't do anything about it. Well, about 4 weeks ago, I was in church, and we had a church coffee after you know, before. This was before the service, and some fella came up to me and said, "I know you were a World War II veteran. You were in World War II. My mother has written a book, and wrote about my father was killed in World War II." And she wrote this book. It's a memoir. It's called Red Roses and Silver Wings. And would you like to read it? I said, sure. The next week he brings me the book. I had it over there. I don't know where it is now, but is it still there? All right, let me get it. Let me get it here.
Could you still buy them?
Well, you can get it on Amazon.com. He gave me this book, Red Roses and Silver Wings. And I didn't think too much about it, and I started to read the book. And the book is full of reports from the Air Force. This woman had done a lot of research. Her husband had been killed. And as I read through the book, I found out he was killed over Wesel in a B-24.
Wow.
He was the deputy flight leader. He was a lieutenant in the deputy lead plane. And he was shot down right over Wesel. And as I read the book, the description of what the other colleagues who were flying and had seen from other planes, it was the exact plane that came over the top of me.
Wow.
And I thought, my gosh,
Family.
how all these years I've been waiting to thank these people, and here it is. And the sad part of that story is the woman died a year or two ago, but the book is there, and the son is there, the family is there, and I had written my book, and there's a full description, 3 pages of this incident that is in this book.
Wow.
And I wrote a thank you note on the front of the book and gave it to the family. And there's a certain amount of closure in all of this. For all of you fellas who remember these guys giving their lives for us, well, at least the family has been thanked for it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I think of a fellow there named McGill.
Yeah.
He's coming up. He's from the 466.